Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the weather warnings as we have got a wind warning issued for Thursday as we could see a potential named storm move through. Now this has sort of crept up within the models over the last few days. We have been looking generally at pretty unsettled conditions with the stratospheric polar vortex heading to our side of the pole. We have stated that there was the risk of some really quite unsettled weather and colder weather, of course. And it's looking like on Thursday we could see some extremely gusty winds, around 60, 70 miles per hour, quite widely in fact, locally maybe even as high as 80 miles per hour. So we've already got a preemptive yellow warning issued, could even be an amber warning issued for this later this week, and maybe even it's the system being named. We're able to have a look at that in detail on the latest UK view, look at the precipitation and temperature over the next 5 days, which will bring us to the 23rd of December. But what happens after that through the Christmas period is still unfortunately very uncertain. We've been stating this for the last few days, and again from around the 23rd, 24th onwards the models are all over the place. Now, it doesn't look like it's going to be bitterly cold. That sort of scenario has deteriorated and sort of moved away in the last sort of 3, 4, 5 days or so. But we've still got plenty of runs going down to the -5 isotherm or lower, bringing the risk of wintry showers, frost, and generally pretty cold conditions. But equally, we've still got plenty of runs +5 degrees with more of a southwesterly tilt to the flow, and we'll be able to see that with the ensembles at the end of the video, and it kind of makes all the operational runs that we'll whiz through in the second half of the video pretty redundant, because they are moving around pretty much every 6 hours or so, making whatever output they have at this current point most likely to change in the very near future. But again, we'll try and have a look at what the most likely scenario will be and continue to try and put towards a guess what could happen as we head through the Christmas period and into the new year. So do remember, if you enjoyed my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now if you start on the live radar, you can see we've got lots of patches of rain around, light drizzly rain for many, but a few heavier pulses across South Wales and northern Scotland. And this is because we've seen that weather front that gave extremely heavy rain for Scotland over the weekend, the amber warning for rain over the weekend, slowly sinks southwards through today, giving a very gloomy feel for most, and as I said, some areas of patchy rain. Now, temperatures have continued to be around average or above average, especially further southwards. Look at all those yellows. Has felt colder with the very strong wind and the drizzly feel, so it has felt pretty chilly, but the actual thermometer temperatures are really mild. Look to our south though, and look across France. It's freezing cold. Some areas here across central France haven't got above freezing. Now, their upper air temperatures are pretty much the same as ours, but the difference is the high pressure system that has been influencing our weather over the past few days is sat right over Central Europe, and this is where there's a massive inversion taking place. We had said that about a week to 10 days ago. We were talking all about the possibility of seeing an inversion in the lead up to Christmas, and that inversion is taking place, just not on our shores. The high pressure system further southwards than initially thought a week or two ago means that cold air getting trapped to the surface is across much of Europe. In these areas, it is extremely frosty, bitterly cold, and very foggy as well. It will clear as soon as any weather system comes through, but at this stage, it is pretty frigid across Central Europe. Only a matter of a few hundred miles away, it is 0 degrees, whereas most of the British Isles is bathing in around 10 to 12 degrees at the moment. As I said, if we go over to the weather warnings though, we have got a widespread wind warning for most of northern England, northern Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland for very strong gusty winds through the full 24 hours of Thursday. So it could be adjusted, the timings of this, and it could be upgraded as well. Strong winds are likely to affect a wide area through Thursday, potentially causing some travel disruption. Again, coming at the time of year where people are travelling the last few days of work before Christmas, this could mean those impacts are exacerbated compared to a standard day earlier in the year. Overnight Wednesday into Thursday, strong western northwesterly winds are likely to develop across a large swathe of the country. Quite widely, winds are expected to peak with gusts around 50 to 60 miles per hour. However, in some locations, such as exposed coastlines, plus over and to the east of high ground, there could be there's a chance of 70 to 80 miles per hour being seen in some populated places. Again, from the wording of that, it does look like it's being primed to be upgraded to potentially an hailstorm or an amber warning. Again, it is got a weird system because we're not seeing a centre of a low move in. We're seeing a very strong pressure gradient between the very strong high pressure system we've had over the top of us and low pressure pushing in. So it's not an individual sort of centre of a low that's giving this, but it's more of the general transition from higher pressure to lower pressure. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what happens with this. You can see at this stage though, it is medium impact and very low likelihood. And again, the likelihood is just because it is 4 days away. I do suspect from the looks of this that it will be moved up. And I said by tomorrow or Wednesday, we could see an amber warning issued for this system. Now, if we go over to the UKV, we'll be able to see why we're going to be seeing extremely strong gusty winds. As you can see, the gloomy feel at the moment is slowly getting clear into tomorrow as we see heavier rain move in, and as I said, it's going to be pretty horrible through the morning with gloomy, rainy conditions, but this heavy rain is actually going to clear through the afternoon and actually will leave a much brighter last sort of couple of hours of the day for northern areas, maybe not quite clearing the southeast by sunset. Through the rest of Tuesday evening, though, we do see lots of showers coming in the northwesterly wind. Colder air is filtering in to the risk of snow showers across Scotland, but for most, it's rain and temperatures back down towards average. As we progress through Tuesday into Wednesday, we keep this northwesterly wind, and the northwesterly wind just keeps powering up. And it's into Thursday here where you see all these heavy showers coming in from that very strong northwesterly wind and even some snow showers across Scotland. This is the risk of that named system. Again, it doesn't look like a typical named storm. Normally we have a bit of a hook in the weather front, lots of heavy rain around. This looks like a primarily, pretty much solely wind event, as we see, as I said, very strong pressure gradient that we'll look at in a minute. And then as we progress into Friday, we continue to see potentially the risk of some rain and snow across Scotland and generally a pretty unsettled pattern. And it's all because we've got the cold air colliding with the milder air pretty much over the top of us, which is going to give lots of unsettled conditions, rain, sleet and snow. Snow primarily though across Scotland and higher ground in Scotland. And that's why the models are so indecisive at the moment, because the temperature sort of contrast, the division, the weather fronts are just parked on top of us and it's kind of oscillating up and down. Now you can see that on the upper air temperatures. If we look at day 5 into the 23rd of December, we've got 7-8 degrees at 850 HPA just to our southwest, and we've got -6 or -7 to our north. So pretty warm, balmy, mild conditions to our south. 13-14 degrees would be seen with those sort of air masses. And instead, -6, -7 degrees to our north, which is cold enough for snow. Again, a few hundred miles difference in these weather fronts and positioning of these air masses will make a huge difference, and that is why, as I said, we've got the huge uncertainty at this stage. Now, if you look at the mean sea level pressure, you can see the extremely strong pressure gradient here through Thursday. You can see 1,020, 1,000 and almost 26, 28 millibars just to our southwest, and 980 millibars to our northeast. And that, as I said, pressure gradient is causing these extremely strong gusty winds, and you can see this through much of Thursday. Through Thursday night, a wide area of 60-70 mile per hour winds move in, and the risk of even seeing some 80 miles per hour for much of northern England, Northern Ireland, North Wales and Scotland could be upgraded elsewhere, and we could, as I said, see an amber warning. Not only do we have very strong gusty winds, but the actual mean wind speeds, the sustained wind speeds, are up towards 40 or 50 miles per hour, especially out to sea, maybe inland looking at 30 or 40 over the higher ground. So that's really quite strong, not only for the wind gusts as we saw a minute ago, but for these sustained winds as well. So it could be really quite severe on Thursday. It'll be very interesting to see the warning updates in the coming days and to see whether we actually see this system or this sort of band of winds named. But if we do have a look at the temperatures, as I said, it's going to be pretty up and down generally over the next sort of week leading up to Christmas, but it is generally going to be on the cooling sort of trend. You can see through today it has been pretty mild at 10 to 13 degrees. Again, feeling colder with gusty winds around and areas of rain, but generally it's pretty mild. As we progress into Tuesday, though, temperatures are cooling down, especially for Scotland, down towards freezing potentially tonight. And then into Tuesday afternoon, once that weather system has cleared, 7 or 8 degrees, so back towards average for many. As we progress into Wednesday, cool start, perhaps maybe 3 or 4 degrees in many areas. Again, that's not actually that cold, but compared to what we've had recently, it is a little bit chilly. And then into Wednesday, temperatures again in the afternoon, maybe up towards 9, 10 or 11 degrees. So actually trending slightly above average once again with that westerly wind pushing in. For Thursday, we got that northwesterly wind coming in. Again, 10 to 12 degrees for much of England and Wales. But realistically, it's going to feel a lot colder than that with a very strong northwesterly wind. And for Scotland's areas here, 1, 2, 3 or 4 degrees, going to feel well below freezing with that wind chill. As we progress into Friday, a little bit of a chilly start in the north and in the south, transitioning milder again, 9, 10, 11 degrees. So you can see generally it is still very up and down, but it's on a slight cooling trend compared to what we've had the last couple of days, which has been sort of 12 or 13 degrees. Now, if you do have a look at the longer range, as I said, we will run through these pretty quickly because although, we're very interested to see what's happening over Christmas, the operation runs at the moment are pretty redundant as they are moving around and flipping pretty much every run. The best thing to do is probably look at the ensembles just to show that, and we'll have a look at those in a minute. And you can see the westerly flow continue over the coming days, and it's this point as we get into the weekend where some of the runs have got more of a sustained ridge and do pull in northerly winds. Here the GFS is a bit flatter, perhaps bringing in a slightly cooler air mass for a time leading up to Christmas, and you can see there potentially just a northwesterly wind before eventually crashing the westerlies and kind of forming this low near down into the mid-Atlantic. Other runs not producing that and holding the northerly wind. And this is where we're seeing the huge divergence around that sort of Christmas Eve through to Boxing Day period. The GFS here then goes pretty unsettled and potentially even stormy again at times, and then it does something that we haven't seen actually in quite a while. It builds a Scandinavian high and tries to pull in easterly winds, so another classic GFS run, building a Scandinavian high in the longer term with a very unlikely possibility of this coming off. So you can see it kind of in between, no definitive signal from the GFS here, and again it's going to be one of those we just have to wait another day, hopefully not longer than that, for the models to resolve themselves. If you do look at the GM, again, northwesterly wind coming in. We continue to stay fairly westerly towards the weekend. And then once this low clears, as we head into Christmas Day, this is when the colder air mass could move in. Now, compared to the GFS, developed this low down in the mid-Atlantic, the GM develops further northwards, but regardless, still brings a little bit more of a westerly flow in. And you can see, again, very mixed, pretty amplified the jet stream, and that is why we have absolutely no clue what sort of air mass will be moving in here. On the 28th, actually a pretty chilly air mass is moving in, but equally nothing crazy at all. And if we compare to the ECMWF, unfortunately the midday run hasn't come out as I'm recording this, but do check that out when you're watching this because it most likely will have come out by then. You can see the northwesterly wind coming in, and as we head into the weekend, a bit more of a sustained ridge here, and actually does pull in a pretty strong northerly wind. Now remember, the GFS developed this low out of northeast Canada all the way down here, hundreds and hundreds of miles further southwards in around 6-7 days time. Yeah, about 6 days time now. So it just shows you why the models are very uncertain with those air masses, because they are not able to actually pinpoint to any degree of accuracy where these lows are going to pop up and where they're going to form, their intensity and their size. But this means that the eastern DOF pulls in really quite cold air for Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, before eventually moving through on Boxing Day. As it does this, it goes more of a westerly tilt for the rest of the Christmas period, and at day 10 you can see pretty mild air to our south, cold air to our north, and it does go pretty unsettled, maybe even stormy there through towards the end of the year. Again, blocking out towards northern Canada could bring the risk of cold air spilling more to our side of the pole, but at this stage it is not showing anything too definitive. And as I said, if we finish by looking at the ensembles, you can see why we've got completely no idea. You can see up to around the 23rd, 24th, the majority are now going slightly milder as we head towards Christmas Eve. But look at the spread. Come on Christmas Day, just here, this dotted line where I've got my my mouse. You can see they've got plenty of runs down the -5 line, plenty of runs to the +5 to even 10-degree line, and just progress for the days following that. It's all over the place from the 24th all the way through to the 1st of January. And that is why we've got massive uncertainty. And as I said, no concrete idea exactly how it will play out. 2 meter temperatures are not particularly helpful either. Look at the 25th. Some runs 13, 14 degrees. Other runs 3 or 4. Most likely scenario somewhere in between, somewhere around 7 or 8 degrees. But again, we cannot pinpoint that until the models actually start to agree a little bit more on what is going to be happening. And a more exemplary way of showing this is the dew points. Anything below freezing will be coming from the north or the east. Anything above freezing most likely from the west or the south. And you can see literally from the 24th through to the 25th, the scatter we have. We've got numerous runs below freezing, quite a few runs hovering around the freezing point, 1, 2 degrees, and some even going up towards +10 degrees, which is a proper tropical sort of air mass moving in. Again, no agreement here. Comes 6 a.m. on the 25th of December. Essentially means we can't say exactly, we can't say with any real accuracy what the conditions will be like on Christmas Day. And the similar pattern on the latest ECMWF, perhaps even slightly cooler trend here before the Christmas period, but still no massive trend, still huge amounts of scatter come the 24th, 25th. Again, some runs up towards +10, and even a few isolated runs into Boxing Day towards -10. Complete opposite ends of the spectrum. And again, it's just why we can't make any sort of definitive. We can't say with any definitive evidence of what Christmas Day, Boxing Day are going to entail. Christmas Eve is coming a little bit more clear. Looks like it will be westerly or northwesterly. Just don't know how cool that air mass will be. But beyond that, we cannot say for any with any degree of certainty. Again, a northerly wind is coming in behind that low pressure system moving through Christmas Eve from some runs. Cold, potentially wintry spell in the north. Other runs have just got another low barraging in straight behind it. And again, models cannot agree. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. Hopefully, again, I keep saying this pretty much every video, we have a more definitive answer tomorrow. But at this stage, do make sure you do stay safe, especially with that system coming through on Thursday, which looks likely to be pretty severe indeed. So as I said, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.